As floodwaters start to recede in some areas, it's the first chance to wade home and salvage whatever personal belongings are left. But as the waters fall, the scale of need rises. For millions, home is now the side of the road or a hastily thrown together camp. More than 1,150 people are dead, 33 million are affected. The head of the UN is urging the world to come to Pakistan's aid in an urgent cash appeal. He warns today it is Pakistan, tomorrow it could be your country.
South Asia is one of the world's global climate crisis hotspots. People living in these hotspots are 15 times more likely to die from climate impacts. As we continue to see more and more extreme weather events around the world, it is outrageous that climate action is being put on the back burner as global emissions of greenhouse gases are still rising, putting all of us, everywhere, in growing danger.
Today, the Prime Minister said these were the worst floods in the country's history. In these satellite images, you can really see the devastation as rivers burst and rains washed away everything from crops to bridges. Every province of the country has been affected. In Sindh province, north of Karachi, farmers rescue what's left of their corn from flooded fields. At a time of global food shortages, it's catastrophic. More than 2 million acres of agricultural land is now underwater, and at least 700,000 cattle are dead. The country's planning minister puts the damage at more than $10 billion, a tough bill to pick up in a country already suffering from an economic crisis.
People have actually lost their complete livelihood. Their orchards, their gardens, their agriculture fields and crops have been destroyed. We have lost more than 45% of cotton crop in Pakistan. Rice crop has been badly damaged.
Today, on a trip to Dorset, the Prime Minister pledged the UK's support.
It's absolutely heartrending that Pakistan is traditionally one of the biggest recipients of UK overseas aid. We will, of course, make sure that we send a fitting package commensurate with the vital relationship that there is between the UK and Pakistan.
The question now is, will help come fast enough and reach everyone in need? Large parts of the country are hard to reach. The main highway between Baluchistan and Sindh province is now an obstacle course to be attempted on foot. Trucks and oil tankers go nowhere. The country's army chief warns it'll be a long road to recovery.
Well, earlier I spoke to Darwar Butt, an environmentalist and the co-founder of Climate Action Pakistan. I began by asking if it makes him angry that richer, more developed countries are not following through on promises made just last year at COP26 in Glasgow.
Of course it does. The impact we see, it's not our fault at all. Pakistan or other developing countries, low middle income countries, Somalia, African countries, all of our neighboring countries, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, the entire region which is dependent on Himalayas and the Karakoram, all of us see the glaciers melting. Right now, what is happening is that just before monsoon, we had a record-breaking heat wave. India and Pakistan had some of the highest temperatures on the planet. And a lot of the experts now say that, of course, this was triggering glacial melting, which has added to the rivers in the forms of flash floods. It has disrupted northern communities as well. But at the same time, this was warming up the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. And because of high sea surface temperatures, we had a large volume of moisture in the air, which caused this flooding ended up being to torrential rains. And then this has caused the floods. We contribute less than 1%, talking about Pakistan, of global emissions. And we keep on losing billions of dollars worth of property, economic losses, lives lost. And for the foreseeable future, it's looking very, very grim for the country.
Do you have any sympathy with richer countries like the UK prioritising the immediate economic crisis by, for example, taking green levies off bills or drilling for more oil and gas, prioritising that over the climate change emergency?
We, in 2015, for example, in the Paris Agreement, and since then, developing countries were sort of told that you have to shift to cleaner energy. And that's what we were doing. We were shifting to natural gas from coal and petroleum. But right now, we've been priced out of natural gas, and our own energy production is short. We have to then depend on expensive oil and coal sources to produce energy. So in a way, developing countries expect that a similar transition or seriousness for a transition would have been happening in Europe or the UK or the United States. This has not happened. So, and at the same time, I don't see a lot of support in terms of climate finance or support in terms of right now the humanitarian disaster that's unfolding. The response is very slow.
Just finally, I just wanted to ask you about strategic, historic priorities, really. Pakistan's former Prime Minister once famously said that people could go hungry, could eat grass, so long as they had a nuclear bomb. When you're looking at the country spending many billions to rebuild now, do you question that sense of priorities once again?
Of course, what you've mentioned, many also believe that it was a need of the time, but when we think in terms of our overall spending, there is a drastic need to sort of realize there is a need for introspection that the flooding right now, the water situation in the future, the climate, all of these are the security problems for the country in the future. So this is not just a climate challenge for Pakistan, this is a security challenge. Serious thought needs to be put in thinking in terms of what we finance, social safety nets, education, health, and of course, climate resilience.
Dawa Bhatt, thank you very much for joining us.